ever stared at your desk, saw a pack of highlighters, and thought, why do these look like they were stolen from a neon sign factory? I mean, why isn't there a classy beige highlighter or a slightly rebellious maroon one? Something about these glowing sticks just screams, "Look at me," without actually saying anything. I'm Professor Everything, and today we'll be answering the question, why do highlighters come mostly in neon colors? Right here on Explaining Everything. First off, what even is a highlighter? In short, it's a marker with transparent fluorescent ink instead of the usual opaque black or dark ink. This ink is translucent. It lays over your printed text without hiding it, but still leaves a bright, colorful glow behind. That way, you can still read the words under the glow. Very important if you don't want to highlight entire textbooks into illegibility. The first highlighter was invented in 1963 by a guy named Francis J. Hahn. While experimenting with water-based fluorescent ink for a non-permanent marker, he noticed that water-based fluorescent yellow ink over black print made the text stand out, not disappear. That accidental eureka birthed the highlighter as we know it. Now for the nerdy but awesome part. Highlighters look neon because of fluorescence, a scientific phenomenon. Don't worry, no biology test at the end. Here's roughly how it works. The fluorescent dyes inside highlighter ink can absorb not only normal visible light, but also ultraviolet, UV light, invisible to us. When those dyes absorb UV or certain wavelengths of light, their molecules get excited. Then they drop back to their normal state and spit out light again, but this time as visible light, that extra glow. That's what makes highlighter ink look ridiculously bright, even glowy. Because of that fluorescent effect, the ink can appear much brighter and more saturated than plain pigments would under the same lighting. In other words, your highlighter doesn't just reflect light like normal ink. It emits it, well, immediately after absorbing. That's why it looks so eye-searingly neon. Bonus: under UV light, like a black light, or even strong sunlight with some UV, that glow gets even stronger. The fluorescent molecules go berserk and give off more visible light, which is why highlighter marks sometimes look like they're glowing in dim or weird lighting. So, if fluorescent ink can come in many colors, why are most highlighters yellow or neon greenish? Good question. The most common fluorescent dye used in highlighter ink is a compound called pyranine and similar. That dye naturally produces a bright yellow-greenish color when it fluoresces. That color is a sweet spot, bright enough to catch your attention, but light enough that the text underneath stays readable. If the ink were darker, like a deep red or brown, it might obscure the writing instead of highlighting it. Indeed, most highlighters avoid dark, opaque shades for that reason. Also, when documents are photocopied or scanned, yellow fluorescents tend to either reproduce poorly or not cast a heavy shadow, which helps ensure the text remains visible. That makes yellow and light neon shades ideal for note-taking and copy-friendly highlighting. So it's partly chemistry, partly practicality, and a tiny bit of highlighter design wisdom. Think of neon highlighters as the bling of the stationery world. They're loud, they pop, they instantly say, Hey, pay attention here. Because of that fluorescence, highlighters don't just quietly mark text. They demand your eyes' attention. That's exactly what highlighting is meant for. Also, from a manufacturing perspective, using fluorescent dyes like pyranine or similar ensures consistent brightness across many copies. It's less about art, more about function with flair. Let's do a quick recap, because highlighter science deserves applause. Highlighters use transparent fluorescent ink, not opaque marker ink. That lets you see text underneath. The dye inside absorbs UV, or high-energy light, and re-emits it as visible light. That's fluorescence. Because of that, the ink looks way brighter than typical colored ink. Neon isn't just style, it's nature or chemistry doing the heavy lifting. The most common colors, yellow, neon green, come from dyes that naturally fluoresce in those hues. Bright, yet legible. And the realization that water-based fluorescent ink made text stand out rather than hide it. That was pure accidental genius from the inventor. Next time you crack open your old highlighter set, maybe a bit dried out, cap lost somewhere between your bed and kitchen drawer, give it a moment of respect. That little neon stick is not just a boring stationary item. It's a concentrated sliver of photonic magic. It doesn't just color words, it makes them shine. And sometimes you need that, especially when you're cramming overnight before a big exam and trying to convince your brain which line is the most important. So here's to highlighters, those fluorescent pen wizards that whisper loudly to your weary eyes. Look here, this matters. If you enjoyed this neon ink investigation, hit that like button and subscribe for more weird, wonderful explanations about the everyday world. And if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.